Hello, and welcome to this information video about the BC Arts Council's Arts-Based Community Development Program and the Leon and Thea Koerner Award. We at the BC Arts Council carry out our work on the land of Indigenous nations throughout what is colonially known as British Columbia. We are grateful for the continuing relationships with First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people in BC that develop through our work together. We offer respect and gratitude to the Lekwungen people, known today as the Songhees and Esquimalt nations, on whose ancestral lands we operate our main offices. We also want to acknowledge and thank the First Peoples Cultural Council, who we have partnered with for many years to deliver the Indigenous arts programs. My name is Erin Macklem, and I'm the Outreach Coordinator for the BC Arts Council. I'm joined by my colleagues Clayton Baraniak and Krista Patterson, who facilitate the Arts-Based Community Development Program and the Leon and Thea Koerner Award. In this presentation, we will go over some background about the BC Arts Council, who we are and what we do. We'll talk about the Arts-Based Community Development Program and the Leon and Thea Koerner Award, including who can apply and how to apply. We'll talk about the peer assessment process and go over who to contact with different types of questions that you might have. The BC Arts Council is a funding agency for the BC government. We support arts and cultural activity in over 200 communities throughout BC, and we're housed within the Ministry of Tourism, Arts, Culture, and Sport. Our ministry is led by the Honourable Lana Popham. We were established by an act of legislation in 1995 for the purposes of providing support for the arts and culture in British Columbia, providing persons and organizations with the opportunity to participate in the arts and culture in British Columbia, and providing an open, accountable, and neutrally administered process for managing funds for British Columbia arts and culture. Really, we're here to ensure that individual artists and arts and cultural organizations throughout the province are supported because we know how important the arts are to the health and well-being of communities. The British Columbia Arts Council funds a wide range of activities, projects, organizations, and individuals. For example, we support community arts programming in rural and urban centers. We provide money to individual artists, arts and cultural workers, and arts and cultural practitioners to create new artistic work and develop their professional skills. And we provide funding opportunities for professional performing arts companies, Indigenous artists and cultural organizations, art galleries, local museums, festivals, and community arts organizations too. The work we do is guided by our new Foundation's strategic plan and our Extending Foundation's action plan. The strategic plan prioritizes sustainability and creative development for the arts and culture sector, increasing equity, diversity, and access throughout all of our programs and processes, support for Indigenous arts and culture, and support for regional arts and community arts. The Extending Foundation's action plan places reconciliation, equity, diversity, inclusion, and access at the center of all of our work. These detailed plans are both available on our website, and we encourage you to read them as they offer valuable insight into the work we do and the programs we offer.
The BC Arts Council also now offers accessibility support programs for applicants and for projects that receive funding through our granting programs. Individuals who self-identify as deaf or having a disability, and organizations with a primary mandate to serve deaf or disability arts practice as identified in their constitution, are eligible for the accessibility programs, which are application assistance that pays for support services for creating and submitting grant applications, registering for the online grant management system, and doing project updates or final reports. The second program is Access Support, which provides additional funding that supports access costs associated with creating or developing a project that has been funded by a BC Arts Council grant. Some examples of support you can request include ASL interpretation or translation, transcription or editing support, or visual assistance, to name a few. These programs do not provide funding for audience accessibility or day-to-day access costs outside of the scope of a project. Accessibility requests are confidential and will not be part of assessment panels evaluating grant applications. For more information, you can contact me, Clayton, at 250-978-9839 or email claytonbaraniak@gov.bc.ca to request assistance. For more information about the accessibility supports, visit bcartscouncil.ca/accessibility.
We'll shift now from more general information about the BC Arts Council to specific information about the Arts-Based Community Development Program and the Leon and Thea Koerner Award. Much of this information can be found in the program guidelines and application previews on the program webpage found on our website. Take it away, Clayton.
Thanks, Erin. The Project Assistance Arts-Based Community Development Program supports community organizations to engage professional artists in the development and delivery of projects, providing arts-based community development impacts and benefits to a specified community. Through collaborative, community-based, art-centered activities, these projects provide a tangible and active understanding of the arts and culture as a pathway to health, well-being, human dignity, and social transformation. To add a bit of context here, arts-based community development is a well-established artistic practice that has specific techniques and principles that focus on civic engagement through arts and cultural activity to foster social development within the participants. We'll get more into the principles of arts-based community development processes a little later in this presentation, but it is a very specific and well-defined practice that does vary from the conventional approach to artistic creation and presentation. The second component of this program is the Leon and Thea Koerner Award, which we will often refer to as the LTK. Established in 1955, the Leon and Thea Koerner Foundation has provided over $10 million in grants to arts and social service organizations throughout BC and the Yukon. In 2015, the foundation transitioned from 60 years of continuous grant making to an endowment that now supports the Leon and Thea Koerner Award, or the LTK Award, and is now administered through us at the BC Arts Council. To be clear, your organization must be a registered Canadian charity or other qualified donee to apply for the LTK Award. If you're unsure if your organization is eligible for this award, please give us a call and Krista or I can confirm for you. When to apply? Apply now or any time now between now and 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday, May 17th, 2023. We encourage you not to wait until the last minute to submit your application because while you do have until nearly midnight, the BC Arts Council office is only open from 8:30 to 5 Pacific time, Monday to Friday, and we won't be available to answer any questions or to assist with any technical difficulties outside of these hours. You must also make your application on the grant management system. Paper or emailed applications will not be accepted.
So in preparing to apply, as Clayton mentioned, you will be doing that through the grant management system online. If you're already registered in the system, please make sure your information, including your current address and documentation in your organizational profile, is up to date before submitting an application. We will talk a little bit more about that as we go along. New applicants do need to register and create a profile in the online system. If you're a new applicant, once your registration request is submitted, it might take up to 5 business days to process your request. So try and start that process early. Please make sure the email address noreply@bcartscouncil.ca is on your safe sender list, and please do check your spam folders because sometimes the system responses will land there. Before you begin your application, do read the program guidelines and the application preview document to help guide you. We then encourage you to discuss your application with the program advisors before jumping in. That would be Clayton or myself. Program advisors can help determine if your organization and your project are eligible for this program and can save you a lot of work and disappointment if you're not. You don't want to spend a lot of time on something that doesn't fit within the parameters. We're not able to pre-read your application or screen it, nor can we guarantee that your project will be successful, but we can do our best to offer advice and answer questions to help set you up for success. Calls and emails do increase the closer the deadline date gets, so response times might be slower at that time, so it's advised to get in touch early. So who can apply? Eligibility is outlined in the program guidelines, but I will go over them. If you're unsure if your organization is eligible, please do get in touch and we can go through them together. To be eligible to apply for both programs, an applicant must either be a professional or community arts organization, working in collaboration with a specified community. The organization must be registered and in good standing as a nonprofit society or a community service co-op in BC for at least 1 fiscal year prior to application. They also must have the majority of key staff and board members based in BC. a dedicated arts and culture purpose or mandate, and a purpose or mandate to provide services to the arts and culture sector in BC. Or the applicant could be a community organization whose focus is not arts and culture, working in collaboration with a specified community. The organization also must be registered and in good standing as a nonprofit society or community service co-op in BC for at least one fiscal year prior to application, and again with the majority of key staff and members based in BC. Or an applicant might be an Indigenous community organization or Indigenous government in BC, includes First Nations, Inuit, and Métis communities. They offer dedicated arts and culture activities, and they need to be working in collaboration with a specified community. Organizations must also provide public arts and cultural or community programming in BC and have done so for a minimum of 1 year prior to application. They also need to engage competent artistic, curatorial, administrative, or project leadership, either volunteer or paid, fairly compensate artists, arts and cultural practitioners, technicians, elders, and or knowledge keepers. The compensation must align with project and community contexts and industry standards within the field of practice, including adhering to international intellectual property rights standards and cultural ownership protocols. Organizations must also adhere to the Criminal Records Review Act, which requires that people who work with or may have unsupervised access to children or vulnerable adults must undergo a criminal record check by the Criminal Records Review Program. Organizations must also have completed and submitted any overdue final reports on any previous Arts Council grants by the submission deadline for the program. So again, that's overdue final reports. Things that are in draft, or if you have other projects that you haven't finished, those aren't required, but it's final reports that are in an overdue status. A few times we mentioned collaboration with a professional artist. For the purposes of the program, a professional artist is considered professional if they've completed appropriate and relevant training in their discipline at a level that would be recognized as professional by other practitioners working in similar disciplines. Their training might be through post-secondary institutions, traditional knowledge transfer, or apprenticeship with a qualified practitioner. They need to have had a minimum of 2 years of professional practice in their field following their basic training. They should be recognized by other practitioners working in similar disciplines and are committed to working full-time at their practice when financially possible. Once you determine that your organization is eligible to apply, then you need to see if your project is eligible to be funded through this program and what expenses are also eligible.
So what is ABCD? Awards are available to support a specific project that incorporates or provides knowledge sharing about the following ABCD, arts-based community development principles. ABCD is a respectful, collaborative process through which professional artists work as a catalyst to engage a specified community in the creation of artwork in various disciplines. Community members are involved at every level, including in the development of creative ideas and in the creation and presentation of the artwork, with all participants as equal contributors. The strength and the impacts of the ABCD processes are as important as the project outcome. Art is an effective mechanism for social transformation and can create deeper connections than other more polarizing avenues for social change. And participating in collective creation is a powerful act of civic involvement. The program provides support in 2 main categories. The first one is new work, which supports one-time projects that create new artistic work through collaborative, community-based arts and culture activity, where professional artists will work as that catalyst with a specified community. This component also recognizes the long-term commitment required of community-engaged practice by allowing projects with a phased approach over a maximum of 3 years. And also, the new work projects must be presented publicly. The second category is skill development and knowledge transfer for ABCD practitioners, which supports projects where the primary focus is training and skills development for artists to be able to initiate and conduct arts-based community development activities themselves. This creates opportunities for experienced arts-based community development practitioners to demonstrate new ways of knowledge sharing, including training or mentoring artists or social service practitioners in safe and effective approaches to arts-based community development. This also enhances the capacity of the artists to provide leadership by offering them an opportunity to develop their practice as a means of community transformation or social change. And for the skills development and knowledge transfer for ABC practitioners, you may or you may not have a public presentation as applicable to the project. To be eligible, the project must, for either category, use arts-based community development principles that align with one or more of those categories above, demonstrate confirmed artistic expertise. Professional artists may work in any discipline, traditional or contemporary. They must be Canadian citizens or permanent residents residing in BC for at least 1 year prior to the application. For more information on this, see our Determining BC Residency page on our website. And you must also demonstrate confirmed community development expertise and be working with a specified community. Here's a few examples of eligible activities. In the new work category, an Indigenous government or community organization working with artists, elders, and community members to revitalize artistic and cultural traditions through the creation of new artwork together to be presented to the community is eligible. Or a community arts organization working with a visual artist and young people, creating artwork for an exhibition based on the young people's ideas and experiences, which explore themes of inclusion and anti-bullying. That's eligible. Or a community support organization working with writers and editors to support elderly adults in care to write, edit, compile, and present stories from their lives based on themes proposed by the participants is also eligible. A few examples of things that are not eligible activities would be parents learning music they did not compose and performing it. It's not eligible. Hiring an artist to paint a mural or create a piece of public art with no community creation, not eligible. Presenting performances in a rural community that were created elsewhere. Or youth performing a play or musical that they did not create in collaboration with a professional artist would not be eligible. Remember, collaboration is central to ABCD practice, and the participants should be the creators themselves. Here's a few eligible activities for the skills development and knowledge transfer for ABCD practitioners category. One example might be workshops or training delivered by skilled ABCD practitioners for professional artists and or for social service practitioners that teaches ABCD skills and tactics in community collaborative creation. Or a skilled ABCD practitioner working with youth on a collaborative arts project about their experiences as youth, while also mentoring and providing real-time learning for a cohort of emerging ABCD practitioners on how to facilitate the collaborative creation process. A few examples of activities that are not eligible under skills development and knowledge transfer for ABCD practitioners would be workshops where the sole purpose is to develop an artistic skill, for example, painting or drumming, is not eligible. Or training for professional artists or social service practitioners that does not focus on ABCD skills development is also not eligible. Remember, for skills development and knowledge transfer, it's all about the ABCD practitioners learning skills, not the general public. In terms of what can be funded for the Leon and Thea Koerner Award, in addition, to be eligible for the LTK Award, just as a reminder, the applicant must also be a registered charity or other qualified donee as defined by the Income Tax Act, including First Nations that are registered as such with the Canada Revenue Agency. And the projects for LTK must also use professional arts-based activity in collaboration with a confirmed social service agency. To apply for ABCD, you do not need to be a registered charity, only a nonprofit society or Indigenous government. To apply for LTK, you are required to be a registered charity.
So things that we cannot fund through these programs. Please don't be overwhelmed by the slide. I know it seems like a long list. We just want to flag that there are some activities that will not be funded. They're outlined in detail in the program guidelines, so you can read through that section carefully and make sure you, your project, or your activities don't fall into any of these categories. We don't want you to spend your valuable time and energy on an application for something that's not eligible. So awards are not available to support operating costs, project phases or activity that have begun prior to the application submission deadline, project or budget deficits and or contingency funds, repeat activities with the exception of projects which have previously indicated a phased approach, capital expenses, feasibility studies, startup costs or seed money, fundraising activities, conferences, conventions, or projects where arts are secondary to other activities. Projects do not use arts-based community development processes, subsistence to artists or cultural practitioners, costs of producing commercial recordings or demo reels, private or for-profit entities, member-funded societies, industrial, archaeological, or heritage sites, or historic places or archives, and projects or activities funded through other BC Arts Council programs, including BC Arts Council funds that are delivered through third-party delivery partners such as First Peoples Cultural Council, BC Touring Council, or Creative BC. If you have any questions or need clarification, please do call program staff. We'll be happy to walk through your proposed activity or activities to confirm that they can be funded through this program. In terms of the grant awards, they must be the amount of funding you're requesting must be 50% or less of the total project budget, or they may be up to 65% of the total project budget. Projects from organizations that align with the BC Arts Council's designated priority groups. Applicant contributions to the budget can be composed of both cash or in kind. The budget must balance in-kind revenues with in-kind expenses. There is a section in the budget specifically for in-kind revenues and expenses, so it helps to clarify this. There is no maximum request amount, but arts-based community development grants typically range from around $15,000 to $30,000. It is helpful to look on our website at the funded project list from the past couple of years to see the size of previous grants awarded. We'll give you a better sense of what's been supported in the past. Requests for larger grants will need to articulate a clear rationale for why the project requires a higher amount. The LTK awards are each a $25,000 minimum, and only one application per organization for ABCD and LTK will be accepted. Please note that grants may be awarded for less than the amount that you request. However, the BC Arts Council does try to support funding successful applications at 100% of the request whenever possible. And please note that funding priority may also be given to applications from designated priority groups. There is more information about that on our website. In terms of what's needed for the application, the applicant is responsible for submitting a complete application through the online system. You will not be contacted to address any errors or missing requirements. Eligible applications will be assessed as submitted. A complete application includes details outlining the proposed project, including a summary of the proposed project, including the rationale, objectives, and outcomes, the intended impacts of the project timeline and or work plan starting after May 17th, 2023, which is the application deadline. A short bio for each member of the project's creative or support team, including those from community service and or social service organizations as applicable. A balanced ABCD project budget using the budget table provided in the online application. Please do include notes on the budget and indicate whether revenues are confirmed are pending. This does help the assessors when they're evaluating the applications. And then the application must also include all required support material. As part of the BC Arts Council's commitment to accessibility, we are now accepting parts of applications in audio and video formats. So please see the instructions within the application form for more details. For submitting your application, please do check that your application is complete before submitting by using the checklist on the back page of the guidelines. So have you updated your profile in the BC Arts Council system? And have you answered all the questions in the application? Staff will not contact you to address missing or incorrect information. Again, eligible applications will be assessed as submitted. It's important to note that items in excess of listed maximums will not be reviewed. So in terms of the attachments, if you're uploading extra materials, assessors will not be looking at those pieces. Please also do not submit any general testimonials or reference letters beyond those specifically requested in the actual application form. So be careful to look at those requirements.
So that covers the specifics of the ABCD and LTK Award program, but there are a few other things to be aware of before you apply.
So to apply, the applicant's online organizational profile must be up to date and include a current list of the organization's board of directors, including their board position, occupation or expertise, their start date, and the province they reside in. A current list of administrative and artistic staff or significant contractors, including name, position, province they reside in, and employment status. A certified copy of the Constitution if the applicant is a not-for-profit organization, or a statement of the primary purpose of the organization for all other applicants. A voluntary self-identification as a designated priority group if the organization wants to be considered for strategic supports, and signed financial statements for the 2 most recently completed fiscal years. Even if you've completed an organizational profile in the past, before submitting your application, please do review and update those materials. Financial statements, that's also contained within the organizational profile. So the type of financial statements required are based on the recipient's most recent BC Arts Council either operating assistance or project assistance award. Please check the program guidelines for further details. For new applicants, internally prepared financial statements are acceptable. BC Arts Council staff reserves the right to request audited financial statements if deemed appropriate, regardless of the amount of the applicant's last award. It's really important to note that your financial statements must include a balance sheet, an income statement, and notes. They also have to include an itemized list of grants identified by funder, either in the income statement or attached schedule. A breakdown of operating net assets, distinguishing between unrestricted net and capital assets, and signatures of the preparer and of 2 board members affirming board approval.
So we will talk about the assessment process in a minute, but first we'll take a look at the assessment criteria for the Arts-Based Community Development and LTK Award. Assessment criteria are designed to speak to the diversity of ways throughout the province that can be achieving and contributing. The areas of assessment are described in detail in the guidelines along with their relative weight. So while your application should address how the activities fulfill each of the areas of assessment, you can expect your project to be stronger in some areas than in others. Each part of the criteria is detailed in the program guidelines, be it the reconciliation, equity, diversity, inclusion and access, artistic contribution and significance, engagement and impact, or feasibility. So please read through each of the points and consider these when you're responding to the application questions. How applications will be assessed. So merit-based independent peer assessment is the primary method of evaluation for all applications to this program. Independent assessors, so not Krista or I, consider the merit of all applications based on the assessment criteria in the program guidelines. The panel will be made up of individuals from different fields of practice with broad professional knowledge, experience, geographic representation, diverse cultural viewpoints, including Indigenous perspectives. The process of assessment begins with the assessors reading the applications, all of them. Then they'll score them against the assessment criteria in the guidelines. They meet together virtually and they discuss each application one after another. And then finally, they rank them based on their merit and against that assessment criteria from the guidelines. So after you've submitted your application, you're probably wondering when you'll find out if you're successful. Well, the BC Arts Council informs each applicant of the results of their application no later than 16 weeks after the submission deadline. So for arts-based community development, that's September 6th. Notification is sent by email to the primary contact linked in the application, and emails are sent through the online system. So be sure to add the email noreply@bcartscouncil.ca to your safe senders list so you don't miss that notification. Results cannot be requested in advance, but you are encouraged to contact program staff for feedback on the assessment of your application once you've received that notification.
Thanks, Clayton. And thank you, Krista. This concludes our information video about the Arts-Based Community Development Program and the Leon and Thea Koerner Award. Please reach out to Clayton or Krista if you have any questions about either of these programs, or reach out to our administration team if you have general questions, including questions about how to register for or how to log into your online profile. The contact information can be found here on this slide and on our website at bcartscouncil.ca. Thank you for watching.